Welcome back to the Uplink, the only place on the internet where you can find out about all the latest in gaming news. There's so much gaming news to talk about, we don't even have time. I'm Andrew Hamilton, that's Royden Ogletree.
The Uplink or Uplink?
It's technically the Uplink.
Is it?
But I normally just say Uplink because I forgot to put the in the logo.
We've been doing this show for like a calendar year. And
yeah, I mean...
Shows you how much work we put into this.
A lot. It's all love and passion all the time. Yeah, but we got a lot to cover on the Uplink, sans the Z. And
let's talk about
when I died.
Showcases and such.
Yep. All right, but first, we're gonna get into all the showcases. A lot to talk about. A ton of games announced over the last 4 or 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. Who knows how long it's been?
2 weeks.
Too many days. But before we get there, we're going to talk about everyone's favorite thing, the Microsoft Activision Blizzard purchase. The FTC has officially filed an injunction against Microsoft, preventing them from expediting their sale or purchase of Activision Blizzard, basically putting a big ol' on their ability to purchase this quickly, which they had previously indicated they were trying to basically ignore the CMA and just go do the thing. So they have until an injunction in place until June 22nd, where new litigation will begin. There will be a judge who will take a look at that at that point, and then we'll move forward. But this is the first step of the FTC really stepping in and saying, no, I don't want you to do that. Stop it. And that's all there is on that. We don't know anything else.
But we wanna.
Yeah. And Sony's like, we're not going to announce any games this year, so we can be like, see, we can't compete.
We can't even. Yeah, we can't even do anything.
We're the real underdogs.
Except for the
here.
Huge Spider-Man game that's going to be the best-selling game of the year.
Shut up. I don't know. Zelda came out this year.
That's true.
And that sold.
I mean, Hogwarts.
It's already past Hogwarts.
On pre-sale?
On sales. And
no, you're talking about
Zelda, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
I'm talking different IPs.
Spider-Man, I don't know yet. They haven't released any numbers.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, so we don't know anything about that. We'll keep you updated whenever we do know something. Let's go ahead and move into the first little bit of this showcase. Before we get to the actual showcases that we're going to talk about this week, let's recap real quick. The Sony showcase, which was a big kind of like, There was Spider-Man, which was woo! And then there was that other thing that people were excited about.
This was 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah. And I don't know.
Didn't we talk about it?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
I don't remember anything other than Spider-Man.
Yeah.
There was the Bungie stuff, and there was a lot of in a foam game. There was a foam game that no one asked for.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
Very weird and horny foam game.
A super weird and horny foam game brought to you by the people at Super Weird and Horny. Square Enix.
TM.
Yeah, that's their official slogan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so the PlayStation showcase was fine, but I do think that as we go through these other showcases, we're going to probably want to bring our rating down from last week.
It blew it out of these other ones blew it out of the water just for the amount of reveals. Now, as far as like, do they have anything left for the rest of the year to like reveal into?
Probably.
Yeah, maybe, but like it felt like they put a lot of eggs into these baskets.
Oh, this was
multiple times though. There was a lot of crossover.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of this is that Sony is playing more close to the chest this time around. I think that they maybe have taken some of the feedback about early announcements for stuff not benefiting the project. I think they kind of learned that with the Knights of the Old Republic remake, which has allegedly been fully canceled.
That stinks.
Which sucks, but Aspire apparently bit off way more than they could chew, and then there's just Nine Others 2 that was
very upset about that, actually.
Yeah, I'm really upset about it. But so I think that they're maybe playing a little more close to the chest, and we'll have a second showcase at sometime this year. In particular, if I was, and listen, Sony, you pay me, and I will tell you this idea. All right, they sent the money.
Okay.
Do your showcase in August. I know it's June. You just did one. Do it in August, and I'll tell you why. Not to undercut the sales of Spider-Man. There's nothing you can do that can stop that momentum. You do it in August so that right before Starfield goes on sale, all anyone is talking about is that crazy Sony press conference. and it just completely drowns out.
They played the entire Spider-Man.
Yeah.
They played a whole walkthrough.
They released the copies for free to everyone who viewed it on Twitch.
Right.
That was the Twitch drop that day, which would be crazy. Don't do that. That's insane. But also, that would be kind of cool, so you could do that. But yeah, so I mean, Sony was fine. Let's talk about what happened since then. We got the first of our Showcase of Palooza TM, trademarked official.
It's actually in bold in our notes, by the way.
Yeah, it is. I forgot to put the trademark on there. It's fine. Summer Game Fest 2023, the place where you go to watch the advertisements and the occasional Jeff Keighley going, well, that was fun. You know, I love you, Jeff Keighley, but
I didn't watch the actual showcase because I was working.
Yeah, you were doing your job, and I wasn't.
But no, the good thing about websites is that they make a nice little listicle for you of all of the things. And then you look at ones that look good, and you say, I'm going to watch that one, and I don't care about the other ones.
Yeah,
but,
you got the better experience of not having to sit through.
I don't know, why'd you do that?
Like a DoorDash ad in the middle where he was like, speaking of Final Fantasy, DoorDash has your back with code word GameFest for a free burrito delivered. And I was like, that's mean. Because people were waiting with bated breath for the Final Fantasy VII.
All corporate synergy.
Of course it is. Let's talk about some of the games now. A lot of great indie titles. We got Lisfanga? The Shift Warrior, which is a roguelite that uses time paradoxes, so you can go through and then you run in parallel with the previous versions of yourself to defeat enemies. It's super cool looking. Love the art style.
Couple time dilation games this year.
Time. You know, I can't remember who said it, but sometime last year someone was talking about how time loops and paradoxes are like the new zombie movie. Like we're in multiverse and time loop territory, and now when a zombie game comes out, you're like, that's kind of
a lot of it is like, can we go back to when everything wasn't bad?
Yeah, well, and then also there's so much more brand synergy to be had whenever you do multiverses.
Yeah,
you can just look. What if they were in the same universe? Now they are. Under the Waves looks interesting.
Yeah, Parallel Games, which I wasn't really familiar with them, and you'll hear that a lot. But Parallel Games is doing it. It looks like a solo, not horror game, but thriller,
survival thriller. I think is what
set underwater as a research scientist.
Yeah,
looks really interesting. I'd be interested to play it because I don't know, something about being alone underwater.
Terrifying.
Yeah, terrifying, but I don't think it's like a horror game per se.
No, I think it's designed to be more, like you said, kind of a thriller. Yeah, I mean, I think more, so I'll just go ahead and say what my favorite ones were instead of us going through and listing them all, because that's going to take forever. There were lots of cool indie games revealed. I think my favorite ones from the showcase were for sure Banisher's Ghost of New Eden, which we had seen at the PlayStation Showcase last year. Or
I had missed it. This is the first time that I had seen it, and we're doing some more powers, folks.
Yeah, it weirdly reminded me mostly of Middle Earth: Shadow of Mordor, just in the way that the kind of like combat works with the ghost power person kind of backing you up. But it looks like it's got more of a full player stance.
Was it a ghost? I thought it was like they were in different time periods.
Maybe. I wasn't really paying that close attention to the story. I was engrossed in the gameplay.
Yeah.
But it could be that. I should have done my research. It's been a busy week, folks.
No, I thought that one looked. It also just looked good too. On top of
crazy beautiful looking game.
Yeah.
I love the setting. We don't get a lot of colonial kind of looking locations or anything that's really just set in a time period that's not been done to death. You know.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to explore that game. And it's from the team that did Vampire, which I enjoyed.
Didn't really succeed, but...
No, but it was fine. It wasn't great, but I think they learned a lot of lessons, it looks like. I was also super psyched to see Sandland, a Akira Toriyama-led artistic game that is bringing back... Like, it immediately gave me Chrono Trigger vibes. That's
not the one that
story.
Looked more or less like a Borderland, or did it?
Yeah, it was like Borderlands, but with Dragon Ball Z art style.
Right, okay.
Yeah. It looks really fun. I like that Akira Toriyama is still working with developers to bring his art style to newer games. I like that it's not set in a lush jungle or something like most of those kinds of games are. I like the setting. Be interested to see more of the gameplay. Mortal Kombat was always going to be on my list, just because I was so hyped about the Mortal Kombat 1 trailer. And then we got to see full-on gameplay, and then they released a whole bunch of gameplay after that during the Day of the Dev stuff, and we got a much closer look at the way that the cameo system works, which lets you call in. Basically, they've replaced the variations in the game with the cameo system. So instead of having 3 versions of a character, or you getting to make a bunch of moves that get deselected or reselected, now the modifier here is the other player that's there. Looks like there's going to be about 12 of them at launch, and I know that there's 5 planned for the DLC. So I'll be interested to see how that plays and feels. Interestingly, they did announce that the first network stress test for the launch will actually be this coming weekend.
Right.
Which I did not get invited to, so I'm not bitter or anything.
Right.
Ed Boon can suck it.
Alan Wake 2, you played the first Alan Wake. This looks just as creepy as previous. Hearts and drawers and hands and things.
And they've really perfected the style here with, I think Control and the Alan Wake remaster really kind of gave them more time to work on this thriller, horror, survival kind of state that they're in.
Yeah.
And it's really working here. I think that Alan Wake 2 looks creepy as hell. I love the idea of it not being just an Alan Wake story, that there's more to it than that. The new characters seem like a lot of work has been put into making them interesting, and there's 2 stories that run parallel with each other that will connect in meaningful ways. I like it whenever the games do that kind of stuff. I think that's what made The Last of Us Part 2 work for me.
It'll be interesting to see when they adapt it to a movie, which I don't think
will go poorly.
One thing really quickly that we're gonna, before I guess we talk about Spider-Man at the Summer Game Fest with John Carpenter's. This will kind of be like a nothing like throwaway game,
but it looks fun.
It looks fun. You'll inevitably get it
Toxic
on Game
Commando.
Pass. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando, which harkens back to 80s action thriller movies, but with like Days Gone zombie mechanics.
It's a horde shooter, and we haven't seen one of those in a hot minute. Like I'm legitimately surprised someone's making a horde shooter in the year of our Lord 2023.
How much John Carpenter, 72-year-old John Carpenter, was actually involved in this? I have no idea. But
probably minimal. But let's be real, he's also a big video game fan. He's been readily awaiting the chance to make a Dead Space film for 10 years now. Which I'm like, why would you not give John Carpenter
the ability to do that?
Yeah. I mean, that's EA. What's wrong with you?
So also real quick, for some reason they wanted to show us the Twisted Metal trailer.
Yeah, hey, look, I know The Last of Us did well, and part of that has to do with where it was produced. And no shade to Peacock, but absolute shade to Peacock. They cannot do this. This will not go well. I was not at all getting the vibes of Twisted Metal from this. I got the vibes of Will Arnett doing the Will Arnett thing. Doing a voiceover of the poor guy. I mean, they did it like Darth Vader. Yeah. Poor guy in the suit's never going to get any of the credit. Yeah, ADR, but it's just big hulking man as the clown. It just sounds like Lego Batman. Exactly. That's all. I was like, why did they get Lego Batman to play Sweet Tooth? Also, not having rock music be like the big thing for Twisted Metal. Metal music should be your go-to. And like having it be 2000 or 90s pop music is weird choice. Odd choice, and definitely isn't gonna work. I'm not listening the biggest thing in the world, and people are gonna be like, you have a poop in your pants if that's the biggest thing that you're complaining about. It just looks silly. Yeah. And maybe it will, I don't know. Maybe it'll work. Fun kind of like, it looks overly campy. And it looks like it had a shoestring budget to make this thing work. First of all, didn't hear anything about it, and then all of a sudden, like, it's done. Popped up. They're like, it's going to be out this year. And it's like, oh, when did you make that? Yeah, exactly. So, it feels like they kind of... Yeah, it feels like they're rushing. I haven't seen a lot of promotional stuff. We've had like one poster, that one clip, and one trailer, I think. Now, when you look on the Wikipedia, it said it's been in development for
years it was going to be a movie. Like
Yeah.
all these things were going to be a movie, yada, yada, yada.
The Twisted Metal.
But like from them actually getting the green light on it to them making it feels like 3 months.
Legit can't believe that they didn't cast Jack Black as Sweet Tooth.
He was
He had expressed interest in playing Sweet Tooth for years.
he had been too busy making original hit songs for the Mario movie,
Yeah,
going platinum.
it's true. He doesn't need them; they need him.
Yeah, exactly. Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Summer Game
so
Fest.
this is probably the thing that was at the Summer Game Fest that drove me the most insane, and I'll tell you why. Hey, Sony, don't do a showcase if you're not going to showcase all of the showcase. Why, in the name of any god, would you choose to take the release date and just kind of like and move it 2 weeks forward and make that the only thing you show? Oh, I'm sorry. They also revealed the cover art, a thing that also could have been at the Sony showcase, and they revealed that Venom isn't Peter or Eddie Brock,
Oh.
and so that's cool. I guess great. I'm glad it's coming out October 20th. I can't wait. Why would you not make that part of the trailer? Why wasn't that just there to? What did you need to verify?
They showed more game. I mean, some of the suits already came out. The pre-order suits already came out. There's some variety there. It's not like the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
But,
And I like that they're doing a little more customization this time. It looks like the suits will have alternate color schemes that you can apply. Collector's Edition has a cool statue with it. That's all great. I just don't understand the point in pushing it off. This felt like when they pushed the Last of Us Part 1 announcement down the line to Game Fest last year. Like, it didn't make sense.
Yeah, it was a nothing thing. Do we
also
care about Final Fantasy 2 discs?
I mean, we have to care about this, but I do care. I'm mostly because I'm surprised that that also wasn't in the PlayStation Showcase. It is technically a PlayStation exclusive.
Oh, that is crazy.
And so I can't believe that not only did Sony clip their own wings in many ways, but they allowed Jeff Keighley to come in and pick up the scraps. Also, this may be the only Jeff Keighley event that didn't feature like 7 appearances by Hideo Kojima, and that was the craziest part. I was like, "Where's Kojima?" And then I found out.
I was asking myself that same thing.
I'm always asking myself that. I'm like, "Where is he? Where'd he go?" He was busy meeting with Nick Cage, I think, is what happened. I just found out today that they had like a meetup, and now everyone's all like, "He's in Death Stranding too," which we haven't heard anything.
That makes sense. That makes the most sense of anything.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Mads
Also,
Mikkelsen.
Like Hideo Kojima's Rolodex of just people that love him.
Insane.
It's weird. It's the weirdest thing.
Guillermo del Toro loves him.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Mikkelsen, Troy Baker.
Yeah, it's just like the weirdest group of auteurs that obviously like he is king of artistic game development.
He's the most, like, his franchise is one of the most recognizable to a wide range of people who grew up in a very specific time frame. And he may be one of the few names that, like, outside of video games people might already know, or people who only loosely touch video games.
Right. It's like him and now Neil Druckmann.
Yeah.
Because Druckmann has now like sort of inserted himself into everything that he's made. But the Kojima, we're going long, but the Kojima is like, hey, he's just like, Academy Award winner Guillermo del Toro is like, just, they're hanging out.
Yeah.
Writing things together. Like, what? Like, I don't know. People with actual real Hollywood clout is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's
like
weird. It's
his
real
best
weird.
friends.
And he's had like, he has a podcast that he does, and he's just had like the strangest variety of celebrities on, and he's just like, hey, this is my good friend. And you're like, oh, you know him, like for real. Like the Final Fantasy thing, there was fan outcry that they didn't show up at the PlayStation event, and then that there was no mention of it at all, and that there's been so much focus on Final Fantasy 16, but no mention of Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, which is the follow-up to the Final Fantasy 7 remake. So they were like, oh, don't worry, guys, something's coming, and this was like a day before the thing, and then this was their one more thing,
Dude, you could fill this studio with the lack of knowledge that I have about the chronological orders and releases of the Final Fantasy games. It's like 7, but it's coming after 16, and it's just like, what?
So this is a remake of 7 and 16.
Which has been remade before.
Yeah, it's been remastered. It's complicated.
See?
But yeah, and then the craziest part about that,
and 16 is new, right?
16 is new, and completely separate from every other Final Fantasy game.
Perfect.
Most of the Final Fantasy games have nothing to do with each other.
Awesome. Love that.
Rebirth has been pushed out of 2023 into early 2024 with no specific release date announced. The one thing they did announce is that somehow we're already at a point, and this may be a gimmick just for the fun, because on the PS1, it also released this way, but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will release on the PS5 on 2 discs.
Bringing it back.
Which means one of 2 things. This game is unbelievably large and filled up 2 Ultra HD discs almost to completion, and they needed to do this. Or it's a gimmick and a waste of resources. Which is it, Square Enix?
Yeah.
Can you tell? You can tell us.
We were talking
Probably
about
the second one.
We were talking about this the other day. GTA 5, baby. Like that's the last time that I remember doing that. That was in 2013.
Red Dead Redemption 2 was that way.
Was it? I guess I haven't bought a physical copy of a game in forever.
Yeah. Well, and that's the big thing. Is a lot of people won't care about this because they're like, I'm gonna buy it digitally. Of course, it's 900 gigabytes.
Ooh, you better start deleting some stuff.
That's right. The new standard is 300 gigabytes. What would you rate this? I'm putting it at a solid 3. It was fine.
Out of
5.
5. Oh, I was like out of 10.
3 out of 10. It was fine.
I liked. Well, I say that. Nah, I'll give it a 3.5 just because I'm like thinking of what actually was revealed at the
only a few
on
things
the Xbox showcase, which. No, sorry, the Ubisoft showcase, which actually blew my mind relative to expectations.
We'll get there.
We're so much to talk about. Anyway, let's do the Xbox thing.
All right, well, first, let's talk about 2 of our favorite games that weren't part of any particular showcase.
I didn't see that addendum.
Guys, what you know about Squirrel with a Gun?
Squirrels with guns.
If you didn't see this picture of a guy who was working in Unreal Engine 5 shortly after its full-fledged release, who was like working on a concept, and it was just a squirrel holding a handgun. And that got so much attention, and he has since gone on to make this a real thing. So Squirrel with a Gun is a real game that's coming. And it's my game of the year already.
Oh yeah, it's
so exciting.
Look, in the same vein of Goat Simulator or Goose Game or whatever, Untitled Goose Game. Yeah, man. Yeah. Just silly rascals, you know.
Give me like goofy trash pandas running around with a
also
Uzi.
It's multiple squirrels and multiple guns.
Yeah. It's
blowing
great.
somebody away with a double-barrel shotgun as a squirrel is just hilarious. And
it's gonna be funny every time. Look, gun violence is nothing to laugh at.
Yeah, it's
but
nothing.
Squirrel gun violence, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
come on.
I mean, we don't have statistics on that yet, so we can't be mad about it.
You prove to me one instance of a squirrel gun violence, and I will take back this sentence.
It's not a good squirrel with a gun. It's a bad squirrel with a gun.
The
only way to stop a bad squirrel with a gun is a good squirrel with a gun.
It's probably true, honestly. It's the SNRA.
All these squirrels supposed to have licenses now? Anyway, sorry.
It's fine. Yeah, Squirrel with a Gun is great.
Do squirrels have to be 18 to buy a handgun?
Can squirrels be 18?
Can squirrels be 18?
I think.
Are they past their prime to even lift a gun?
How do you do a background check on any one squirrel?
That is true. Like this one's outside my door every day, but I'm not sure if it's different from the other one.
Yeah,
that's
and what's the waiting process? Like, how do you determine what is criminal behavior on behalf of
Can you buy guns?
Squirrel?
I think you can actually buy guns for acorns in this, which is just... Anyway, baby steps.
Future of the underground market.
Yeah,
Baby Steps is the other one that we were really excited about.
Do you think they have gun shows, unlicensed gun shows?
They have to, inside of trees.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to move on. I'm sorry.
Okay.
The Baby Steps is just, can we just put this video on screen? Like, what? How are you not excited about this?
Us talking over the trailer is not going to do it justice, especially the intermittent part where it's just voice actors laughing at each other.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a Rick and Morty bit.
Yeah,
It
but
feels-
taken to the natural conclusion.
Yeah, it feels like a Rick and Morty bit. It's about a Arrested Development ne'er-do-well stoner that lives in his parents' basement that gets transported to like another dimension or something like that. And he's like a Cro-Magnon man, like learning how to walk. And it's like he's falling over quite literally like a baby.
Like Quap.
Yeah, and the only thing you need to know about this is that it's by the people that make Getting Over It.
Yeah.
So
It's going to be
it's that.
if you don't know that, Getting Over It is a game designed to make you mad. This game will make you mad, and I'm going to laugh at you the whole time. Because I'm probably going to play it, but the majority of my enjoyment of this game will be watching other people play it. In fact, I have a plan to bring on the anchors from News 10 to play this game and watch them slowly go insane, attempting to take baby steps.
Yeah, we're going long, but Getting Over It was like one of those games that you would play like in college or high school or with your buddies or whatever when you're trying to kill time. And there's no story to it really.
No, there's just getting over it. You're just trying to get high.
This seems like baby steps will have some sort of some sort of narrative.
Sure, let's
I
call it
guess.
that.
But
It's good stuff.
the people making these games are hilarious, and I want them to continue to do it.
They should get all the funding, and that should be the only exclusives.
Yeah.
Actually, but don't make them exclusive. Let them be free for the world. Let's talk about the heavy hitter, the one that we were anticipating the most from, the Xbox Showcase. Talking big mess, throwing a lot of shade before this by immediately posting an image of a majority of the games shown at the PlayStation Showcase and being like, a lot of great games coming to Xbox because a lot of them were multi-platform.
Yikes.
And I was like, they better have the guns to back this up. And I gotta say, you guys, I didn't think I'd ever get to say this, but I think Xbox might have games. They may have a few games. And I'll be honest with you, they look pretty good.
They may have finally figured it out.
It took them 11 years to catch up and make a game someone would care about, but they definitely did it. They started off really strong. They showed off, we had seen a all CGI trailer a few years back for Playground Games, who previously has worked on the Forza Horizon series, only ever made car games for most of their careers, and they are now taking on the role of the Fable maker. So they are going to be making Fable 4, or the Fable reboot. It's not really Fable 4.
So it's good. I love when they do that. It's like, what do we call it? Just start over.
Just do it again, rebrand.
Yeah.
It's time for a refresh. Get out there.
Yeah.
Really cool trailer. Biggest things about it were Richard Ayoade. Yeah. Ayoade. Great British comedian. Love him. Loved him in the IT crowd. Plays a giant and also the narrator of this trailer. The trailer is probably the most impressive thing in and of itself. Not a CGI, not pre-rendered, running the game using cinematic cameras in-game. That is the promise and swearing of the game director. Now, whether or not I believe that is off doesn't matter. I do think that the engine that they make Forza in is totally capable of visuals like this. And the uncanny valley found in those people's faces is very on par with what you would find there.
It looked like when it looked like when, you know, the trailers that would always go viral of Assassin's Creed, because it's like, oh man,
super cool CG trailers.
It was a cinematic trailer.
It felt like that. But
it looked like that, but apparently that's the game?
Full gameplay, like all the way through. And there are a couple of scenes in there, and Kim, if you can figure out which ones I mean, I'm not going to tell you, it's a test. But show them if you find them. There's a couple of scenes in there that are so realistic. And then the player turns around, and you see their face, and it's not none of the hate that people are spewing over whatever, where they're like, oh, it's
over the actor doing the character.
Yeah, they're like,
model.
oh, it's a trans person. I don't care about that. What I care about is that the face just
doesn't look
wrong.
like a normal human face.
It's uncanny valley. It looks almost human, and that's possibly the scariest thing possible. Meanwhile, Richard Ayoade looks great. Looks exactly like himself. And even to the point where, like, you can see, like,
it makes me feel like they didn't actually have a person model for that.
It's a custom character, so you're gonna. It's not gonna be a modeled character. It'll be an assortment of facial features tied to a character performance. Someone will have motion captured this, but the actual person playing it is going to be whoever you make. So that's the other thing. Shut up. If you're complaining about this, shut up. You're gonna make your own. It was the trailer. Why do you care?
Also, but weird. Like, I don't know.
If you're upset for the reason I'm upset about this, with the face being uncanny valley, that's fine. Anything else though, shut up.
They still haven't figured out mouths and teeth.
No, and the way the lips move is the hardest thing to figure out for animators in general.
Yeah.
I just think we're still a ways away from it being
like we're close.
It's very close, but you can. There's a few scenes in particular, and smiling does break a lot of the illusion for these kinds of facial movements. But yeah, it's that lip movement and the teeth that hurt it.
I'm interested. I didn't get to play the Fables when I was younger. I'm interested in this. You played Fable 3. Tyler swore by the other Fables.
I played Fable 3 and went back and played Fable 1 and 2. And I enjoyed all of them immensely. Peter Molyneux is an idiot who was the creator of those games. And if you are currently doing anything involving that man, seek medical attention. He is certified psychotic. And he once promised me that he would grow a tree in a video game in real time at a time when that would not ever have been possible.
Xbox Game Pass day one for Fable?
Yeah, so as per usual, this has been kind of their thing. And Sony kind of has countered this with their own take. But Xbox games release always day and date on Game Pass. That is their promise. Whether or not that is hurting them in the long run has yet to be seen.
Doesn't matter. They can swallow it.
They can swallow it. The indie developers they do that with, maybe not so much, but they do have the backbone to be able to swallow it. Sony had just in an interview this week, yesterday, has said that their idea of putting delays on when they put their first-party stuff on PlayStation Plus has actually led to boosts in subscriptions every time they do that. So, two different strategies, but yes, everything that we talk about here will be day and date for Game Pass. We don't have a release date for Fable. Sometime 2024. That's better than where we were.
2025.
Probably, but that's better than where we were. Right after that, we got a pretty decent look at the Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty expansion.
Don't care.
It's hard to care, but I also think that this is an interesting kind of like middle point. We've watched over the last few years as Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red work their way back into the good graces of people. Can they deliver on the last little bit of the promise? Because the game director said this expansion is meant to fulfill the promises of Cyberpunk to a complete version of it. To really kind of fill out that role-playing experience. I don't know what that even means at this point, because I thought that they kind of did
that in the beginning.
Well, after all the patches.
I would, well, I would care more if and it looks like they've got it into where it isn't broken.
Yeah.
But I would care more if I had it originally and it worked. Yeah. That could be said about any game. I will say, good on them for, even though they were probably hounded and pushed into releasing a broken game early, they didn't have to. But like, more than likely, some corporate overlord
We've already
was probably like,
we
hey,
talked about this story.
Yeah, corporate overlord, get the game out. Good on them for No Man's Skying it and just being like, we're just going to continue working on this thing until it is what we promised that it would do.
Just hope that the lesson from No Man's Sky wasn't that you can release a broken game, and if you work hard enough and diligently enough,
and somehow No Man's Sky is like
incredible. It's incredible.
Well, yeah, and it's the one. It's like it's not it's the exception to the rule is what I'm trying to say. So.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they were able to turn it around. Idris Elba is playing a new character here, so we got our secondary celebrity. We got to, in the Xbox, which we're not going to talk about stuff from this because we just don't have time, but there was a secondary Xbox extended press conference which did longer form interviews with people, and so they had Keanu Reeves on there, and he talked about how exciting it was to come back to play Johnny Silverhands. Always happy to see Keanu.
This game.
Yeah, he's always like, whoa. It hasn't been like that in a while. We got the official release date for Cyberpunk
Fantasy Island.
Phantom Liberty, September 26th. Fine, that's cool. Avowed look incredible.
You like this one more than I did.
I think that part of it is that I know that the pedigree behind this one is pretty high. It's Obsidian Games who has made both the Outer Worlds and Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of their work up to this point, and putting them in the Skyrim kind of category, but with more, kind of makes it so that this is a guaranteed, at least mild hit. The gameplay in general looked pretty smooth and good. I'll be interested to see more once they get going. This is only the second trailer we've had for this one. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it, but it looks pretty good. Now you talk.
As somebody that played Fallout New Vegas in passing at friends' houses, I never got the full experience of it, and Outer Worlds was a good selling game, but kind of came and went without much fanfare. People that saw it, played it, loved it. Mm-hmm. I heard tale that it wasn't as big as people thought that it was going to be.
It was good. It was really good.
I mean, the world wasn't as big as I think people expected.
There's a sequel for that game in the works, but I guess they're hitting Avowed before they get to that sequel.
But it got great reviews. Yeah. If you trust them, then I trust them. Just it didn't like. I don't know. Maybe I'm like out on the Skyrim take of things.
I think there's a lot of that fantasy RPG stuff that's come out in the last 10 years that have really kind of
tanked it.
It's very like similar to zombies, like we were talking about with the time paradox stuff. Like, I think that there's just been so much oversaturation of that particular style of thing that when I see a new one, I'm initially like, until I see some more of the gameplay, and then I'm more into it.
That's exactly where I'm coming from. New Xbox Series S, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a terabyte. Should have been that way to start with. $50 extra. Give me the monies. Forza Motorsport's coming. Vroom vroom go. Very fast. Looks very, very realistic. Real time. Throwing a little bit of shade again at Sony over Gran Turismo not having real-time ray tracing. This will have real-time ray tracing at 60 FPS.
Things that I know, I definitely know what that means.
Yeah, it's reflections and lighting and vroom vroom and beep beep. Oh, look out!
Forza is one of those games that when it came out, the last one that came out, Horizon, and I didn't have an Xbox, it made me actually jealous.
Horizon 5 was the best thing that Xbox has released in like 6 years.
It was one of those times, and we'll talk about a game coming up that I kind of am feeling like
there were a few things in here that got me like, I guess I need an Xbox now.
Right. Then we go shell out another $500 for that. Anyway.
Yeah. Clockwork Revolution looked awfully familiar.
Hey guys, you wanna do a BioShock?
Hey.
We're doing a BioShock.
Come here. Did you steal that from BioShock Infinite? It's fine. I'm not going to tell, but the guy who made the trailer definitely noticed.
Look, BioShock Infinite, awesome. This looks fun. I don't know
It does
what to tell
honestly
you.
look fun. It looks great. It just was. It was kind of a surprising reveal. I didn't expect for something like that.
Yeah.
But I do like the style and the idea, but it did very much feel like almost identical to the BioShock Infinite trailer.
Unlike BioShock Infinite, I mean, maybe a little, but like unlike BioShock Infinite, playing with time dynamics here
Yeah, they were
another
playing with
game.
Space time in Bioshock Infinite, technically.
Yeah, another game here where you're playing with like time dynamics here and rewinding time and doing things like that.
2 more games and I'm out on the time dynamics.
You're out on the time dilation.
Anyone else tries to reboot their franchise or make a interesting game and the only interesting mechanic is that you want to have time travel, don't find something new. I'm already sick of it.
Look, they did a Bioshock and it looks fun.
Yeah, it looks fun. Payday 3 I do not care about, but it is finally got a release date after being announced years ago. It looks fine. I don't care about this. Also, you can just straight up take a hostage now. So now part of this game is holding people at gunpoint and negotiating with police officers.
One of those games that you would just see in the resale of a GameStop.
Yeah.
It was always on the used games category.
It was huge for like one summer, and then it just kind of like...
The clown mask, just vividly, the guy holding the clown mask or whatever, or in the clown masks.
I think it kind of saw a lot of its height reached whenever Dark Knight also used a similar motif. But I can't imagine that this will.
It was just always. It was always in the used games for Xbox 360. That's all that I know Payday for.
Speaking of things that came out a while ago that have a 3 in them, Persona 3 is getting a full-fledged remake. Hey, that's actually awesome. I haven't played every Persona game, but I played 3, 4, and 5, and all of them are great. But I think 3 and 4 are probably my favorites of the bunch. So excited for more people to get to experience this. It's one of those ones that this is almost like a preservation thing at this point because it's only available on one specific console. So now bringing it to everyone will allow more people to enjoy it. And I'm just excited that people get to play this game that I enjoyed.
Next, in the weirdest crossover known to, maybe not weird, brands, guys.
Oddest crossover just because the timing is not lined up with anything.
Yeah. Well, the new movie's coming out soon.
I guess that's true. Anyway, Dune's in Microsoft Flight Simulator. You know that hyper-realistic flight simulator?
You want to fly a Scarab or whatever that's called, I think?
Yeah. Well, and they've done a few of these. They did a Top Gun DLC. They did the Halo helicarrier stuff. You know, we've gotten a few things like this. Always happy to see more fun Microsoft stuff, but
I guess you could say the same thing. Like Top Gun that's the most corporate synergy. Like that just makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know why this is happening.
Hey, you want to fly around the sands of what is? I don't even know the planet.
Dune World.
Dune World. Yeah, you want to fly around the thing that inspired. Yeah, that inspired Tatooine.
Yeah. Also,
and like Dune, it'll be boring because nothing will happen.
Except for that maybe you'll run out of fuel or something.
Yeah, actually, if you put a sandworm in there, cool.
But do something interesting with it, you know? But weird and strange. And
weird corporate synergy.
Hellblade 2 once again showed up. Senua Hellblade 2 once again showed up to talk about how cool their motion capture is and how great the performances in this game are. And I still have not seen enough of this game to know what it's gonna play like. I assume it'll play like the first one, but nothing new has come from this since, and we still don't have a release date. So I don't know. It's whatever. Show me more, I guess. I don't know, but stop talking about the performance capture stuff. I don't care anymore. It was cool when I was like, wow, that is really good. But now I know it's really good. I don't need you to keep telling me how good it is to distract me from the fact that you haven't shown me.
We promise there's a game.
They're like, look at how good this is. And we're like, yeah, what's the gameplay like? They're like, yeah, but look at the faces. They're so good. Speaking of things that look pretty good, you were pretty excited about this one.
Well, look, I'm not a horror game guy, but Still Wakes the Deep makes the most sense of any horror game that I've ever seen.
I can't believe we haven't had this.
In the middle of the ocean on an oil rig? Horror game in the middle of the ocean on an oil rig?
What's scarier than global warming?
After it.
Oh, yeah. Having to live past
yeah, exactly. No.
The dread.
But look, we have.
Sorry, I keep stretching. My back hurts. Okay, don't mock me, Kim.
We're falling apart here. Speaking of like Dead Space all the way back, we have just space, like literal space stations on Earth, because I don't know if you know this, oil rigs are massive,
and
they're like cities,
dark and damp.
Yeah,
and they are. Yeah, it's a space station in the middle of the ocean, and it deserves to be haunted. So. I'm
it just makes the most sense. The trailer looked really. I mean, look.
I think it's Quantic Games, right?
I don't know.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I believe this one's Quantic Games, though.
Look, they made a Dead Space, but that's fine.
Yeah. Another one that you were pretty excited about, Dungeons of Hinterberg.
This looks.
Hinterberg.
Look, I don't know how to describe this. It just looks fun.
Yeah, it looks rad. That's what I would say. I would say that the proper word here is rad. For sure, like the art style, well, you were saying it reminded you a little bit of Rollerdrome, which I would agree with. I think the art style is this cool, like, comic shaded, cell shaded vibe. The soundtrack was pretty cool for the trailer, and the gameplay just looks generally fun.
Yeah, it looks bright and colorful and straight out of the pages of a comic book.
Yeah, and it kind of felt like when they surprise launched that one game from Tango Works. What was that game called? Hi-Fi Rush.
Sure.
Hi-Fi Rush.
Yes.
When they surprise launched Hi-Fi Rush, that was another one that I was just like, what, this bright, colorful, looks like a lot of fun. I love that.
I'm not sure what the story is, but
I don't care though.
A girl goes on an adventure. Looks fun.
Yeah, girl time in the dungeons. I don't know.
All right, we gotta do the thing.
Yeah, we gotta talk about Starfield, guys. I know last time we talked about Starfield, I was like, there's no way this game turns out good. There's no way, or at the very least, there's no way it turns out stable.
You're cynical at best.
I have been very cynical on this game because I do not trust Bethesda or Microsoft. Both. Skeptical and cynical. And I'll be honest with you, I will happily eat my words if this game turns out anywhere near like the gameplay we were shown. It is No Man's Sky. It is a little bit sci-fi Red Dead Redemption. It is very in-depth. I procedurally generated planets and stuff that works a lot for variety.
They did a Mass Effect. I don't know if you.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a Mass Effect in there. A lot of customization. They fixed the combat. Doesn't look like garbage now.
I gotta tell you, you're still. I feel the skepticism in your voice right now. I feel you wanting to pull back, and I gotta tell you. It's gonna be good, man. I don't know what to like.
I want to get on the hype train. I do, but there's one thing that kind of made me feel
there.
better.
I'm all the way in.
He's full.
I'm driving the train.
I'm in the Starfield.
Yeah.
I'm already there. There's one thing that makes me more optimistic here, and that is that during the Xbox Extended Showcase, Todd Howard said a thing that they sometimes reference the fact that their games are buggy messes that shouldn't have been released the way that they were. Which, hey Todd, if you know, stop.
It's me, defender of Fallout 4.
Yeah, I won't talk about it. But he was like, look, so these games will run at 1440p on the Xbox Series S, at full 4K on the Xbox Series X, but both are locked to 30 frames per second because they want to preserve the integrity of the game. Because, and these are his words, our games sometimes get a little wacky, which is either comforting in that, oh, they recognize that there's a problem and they're already planned a solution here. I also think this is partly to get ahead of if it had leaked that it was 30 frames per second later on, like it did for Redfall after they used 60 FPS footage for all the trailers, similar to what they've done for Starfield up to this point. I see you, but that's fine. I'm glad you got ahead of it. This could also be interpreted as, in order to cover our ass if something does happen.
Right.
I'm saying this now to address the fact that we can't.
The game doesn't look good.
We can't control everything, but we did put a limiter in place to make sure that it was the most stable experience for you. So don't blame us if all those bugs show up like they always do.
Look, call a spade. Bethesda kind of needs a win. Like they're one of the biggest.
They have to have a win.
Yeah, they're one of the biggest gaming studios and have made some of the best games of all time. But like, also, Redfall was the worst bomb. I don't think we've seen
not the worst game of the year.
Not the worst game of the year, but I think the biggest.
Gollum's the worst game of the year.
That looks like hell.
It's a slave game.
The Redfall bombed so hard was such a critical failure.
Yeah.
And then the will Starfield come out controversy.
Yeah.
That we may have been, doom scrolling on this.
25 years in
concern trolling rather on this thing. They need it to be good. I'll just will they be fine if it's okay? But I guess, they
just
could.
need a game that is the best game that year. They picked the wrong year. And I will say this will appeal to a very specific. Fantasy is kind of unique because it appeals to a broad audience. Most anyone who enjoys storytelling of any kind will hop into a fantasy game. Sci-fi, typically a much more narrow audience when it comes to people getting on board. Spaceships are cool. Technology is cool. Space travel can be a little mundane at times, and the realities of some of the stuff that's going to be in this game may not fit everyone's idea. There's the over complexity of things that turns off people. I think this game will probably score 9s and 10s. If I'm being honest, I 100% expect to, even me, give it a 9 or a 10. That being said, and that's going to heavily depend on whether or not the story is any good that goes with it, but that being said, this was the wrong year. Because Zelda did so much more for game development, and the black magic that happened in that game to make the stuff work the way that it does outclasses the size and scope of this game. And also, I'm willing to bet that more people find Tears of the Kingdom fun in the long run than
it's just two separate things to me. Yeah. I know it's like open world RPGs.
I'm just saying they will be in direct competition for Game of the Year because it's across all genres. So I think this was not the year for them to release a Game of the Year contender, and more so the year that they're going to release one of 10 Game of the Year contenders. Because, oh my God, we're going to talk about this on an episode next month, but
a lot of good games.
I don't know how to even start the list for Game of the Year.
Zelda. The biggest thing to me, and we'll move on from this. One, this is the game that I'm jealous that I don't have an Xbox.
I'm mad about it.
So like, even if it's like not that good, I want to know because it's so big.
I want to experience the pain of whether or not this lives up to the hype. Right. And that's why I'm like, I don't want to get on the hype train too much because I don't want to get on the hype train, get myself an Xbox, get that game, and then just get disappointed if it is bad. But also, I kind of do, though. I want to get in there.
The biggest thing to me, and not for nothing, is like you play Fallout or you play Skyrim, and I know people like how those games work. It feels like you're a robot.
Yeah.
I don't know what the combat.
It
moves like this, and I can't get over that. I've never been able to get over the Bethesda shooting and fighting and aiming mechanic.
Combat looks legit.
The combat in this, the gunplay in this looks like they actually. Oh man, we actually paid attention to first-person shooters before.
Well, and I think that they really did take the feedback to heart that was given about the last trailer. A lot of people were like, "This is Minecraft in space. Oh, this is No Man's Sky." Like just a rip-off of No Man's Sky, but worse. And then people were like, no way Bethesda fills this with anything meaningful, in the long run or whatever. I think that there's a lot of animosity towards Bethesda that maybe is people forgetting that there's a lot of small, good, great things that are in their games that make up why you remember them so much. Like Skyrim on its head is D&D, but done in a different world. I think that the things that make Skyrim memorable are the shouts and the dragons and the way that you interact with that world, not so much. Ow, God, my back. Not so much the initial concept. And I think the same thing will be here. Is that a lot of what's going to make people excited about Starfield is the fact that it has so much to explore. I'm going to give this showcase a 5, reluctantly. And an optimistic 5. I'm very excited to see if any of these games turn out to be good, because I was also like, oh, Redfall looks really good, and then it just none of it was true. So I want to make sure that everyone knows this 5 is a reluctant.
4.5 only because guess what, baby? Guess who's back? Assassin's Creed is back. No, Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Ubisoft Forward. This is sort of a bit because they only showed literally like different versions of Assassin's Creed, but
it's like 6 versions of Assassin's Creed and like 3 other games.
But 5 out of 5 because the next game that we're going to talk about is going to be my game of the year, regardless of where, like, if it's actually good or not.
Whatever year it comes out.
Yeah, whatever year it comes out, like probably by 2026. But like, it's supposed to come out next year.
Yeah, I am sure it will.
And it kind of looks almost done.
It looks very far into development.
But Star Wars Outlaw,
incredible reveal. 10 minutes of gameplay. The robot is hot. Everyone wants the robot. I don't know, not me,
sure.
But that's just been the. If you're following this, a majority of the discourse that has come from this is about how the robot's hot. Look, I can't speak to what makes people go, but there's a lot of people out there who are like, the commando droid, I would. And I'm like, you would what?
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 Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
It's the Andor.
It is Andor.
It's the Andor. We got the, last time we talked about games that we want made, I talked about, and I think we were both on the same page about it, about how there needs to be a Star Wars game that doesn't rely on
Space Wizards
and nostalgia alone to make its world work. Andor, the show, did that. It took things that we're familiar with, but it didn't overplay them, and it made sure to make its own mark on that universe. And this looks to do the same thing. Basically, this is the spiritual successor to Star Wars 1313.
That one shot that we got of a dude walking out of a cantina or whatever.
Yeah, of that other game.
Of that other game. That everybody was like, an open world Star Wars game where you get to.
This will be the first real open world Star Wars game.
Yep. My only thing that I will say about this, and also they showed space combat and.
Yeah, which they said that the space combat that they showed is just the beginning. You will be fighting in full-fledged, like galactic conquest kind of fights where you'll be taking on star fleets.
My only thing is, and not everything has to be an RPG. I would have loved if this was an RPG. But Star Wars is obsessed with things being in canon. So now these characters are probably somewhere in canon.
And I think this will work because the Syndicate stuff has been kind of hinted at in every Star Wars property. And they, for a time, were the peacemakers of the universe while the Empire was slowly gaining its, clutches around everything. I think that making a scoundrel game is for sure the right idea, and I love the description that they gave about this game, and that is that it's Star Wars done a little Grand Theft Auto, done a little Watch Dogs. You'll do
like a lot of Watch Dogs.
It's a lot of Watch Dogs, but let's be real, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Watch Dogs 2 was an incredible game. Watch Dogs Legion was a fine game, and Watch Dogs 1 was a game. I think that taking those concepts and putting them in the Star Wars universe, and they even have gone on to say that the gameplay shown was just kind of like clearly a scripted thing for this. But that in the actual game, it'll be a lot more scrappy underdog. It's not just going to be about hiding behind cover, popping up and shooting a headshot. You're going to have to think on your feet because there's going to be a lot of different kinds of enemy types and situations, and so you're going to have to be a scrappy scoundrel. And I love that. We don't get to use the Force or some magic hacking tool to do everything. You have to think on your feet. I love that.
And just like any other Star Wars game, you get a cute little companion.
And you get to play as them.
You get a little rascal that you can go send to get you guns so you can kill people.
Product.
Man, it looked good. I'm so beyond excited for this.
Of the things that were tied to movies in this, it's the best
It's the best thing out of an IP. Speaking of, let's just talk about that right now. That game's supposed to come out sometime in 2024. I imagine the holiday season of 2024.
We will keep a close eye on it and let you know as soon as we know.
It's weird that it's a tough look when you have to like compete for eyes against Starfield.
Yeah.
The games look eerily kind of similar.
Yeah, and I would even say that like Ubisoft and Bethesda both have problems with bugs and glitches, but I would say
unfinished games.
I would say that if I had to put my money on one of the two to put out a game that was less buggy and a better contained story, probably put it on Ubisoft at this point.
Coin
but
flip.
I'm also the Far Cry team who's, or not the Far Cry team, the team that's handling this is a new team. I'm interested to see if they are going to allow themselves to get a little political with it, because Star Wars inherently, I don't know if you know this, is political. And to set this in a time period of imperial oppression means to fight fascists through the underground world. Again, very 1313. You're gonna have to be able to push the limit, because if it's just the bad guys are bad because they're bad, that's going to be a little surface level for Star Wars at this point.
Also, Tatooine's so back, like it never left. Ever.
Unavoidable at this point. That is where many of the syndicates are located. So,
yay. Anyway,
hey, remember when that was supposed to be like a backwater planet no one goes to?
Mm-hmm.
You remember, George Lucas? It's your fault. You started this. Other stuff. Avatar. Frontier of
IP.
Pandora. Franchise that I think this game's been in development for 6 years.
About as long as the second movie has.
Yeah, so for one, missed its target. This is definitely meant to come out near the movie. And then two, it looks fine. I think that there's a good promise. Far Cry is a fun game on, like, it's a fun game to turn your brain off on. And I think that putting
awesome
it in a fantastical sci-fi world of Pandora will just make that better. I do think that they have already run into a problem with how lengthy the Navi's arms are, and that's going to make the gameplay feel weird.
Okay, so
Look janky.
Yeah, they did a Far Cry, this is the team behind Far Cry, right? So, oops, we did a Far Cry, or maybe we did a Far Cry on purpose. Again, not the best combat in any game, but it's Far Cry.
Generally fun combat.
Yeah, generally, okay.
The best.
It's not like, I always kind of compare them, people may get mad at me, but like Call of Duty has kind of the fluidity of it down.
Look, you can hate Call of Duty all you want. There's a reason it's popular. It's because no one has gunplay as smooth and solidly backed as Call of Duty.
Right.
I hate that fact. But nothing you can do about it.
Something about a couple of those games, like, you know, even Rockstar runs into this problem with GTA and Red Dead Redemption. Even though it's fun to play those combat, it is a little rigid at times, and so that's kind of what this looks like too, especially with like shooting. But also, yes, you're not playing as a human, so the third person's perspective looked really weird in some of the quick time events, but also like the first person perspective is you're all out here.
Yeah,
so like
your arms are real like gangly and weird. I'll be interested to see how it turns out. I do think that visually the game looks pretty stunning, pretty one-to-one with the movie.
I'm interested.
I just don't want the story to just be a Far Cry story, because Far Cry hasn't made a decent Far Cry story since Far Cry 4.
It's the same thing of liberating.
Yeah, it's
liberating base camps.
That's why they gave it to the Far Cry people, was because it was already set up to be a Far Cry game, basically.
Liberating base camps. Speaking of liberating things, Assassin's Creed. Do we want to talk about that?
Hold on, we got to talk about, because I can't believe this happened. There's a new Prince of Persia game.
Oh yeah.
And it looks good. And it's a reboot, kind of, but also it's a Metroidvania, but like it looks good.
Yeah, it looks fun.
It looks like really solid.
Yeah,
I'm so surprised
first
this
of
didn't
all,
get leaked.
Didn't know Ubisoft owned that.
Yeah.
They own a lot.
A surprising amount, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah,
Monopoly.
Okay. As a Sands of Time guy back in the day, like, sure, let's do it. You know, they haven't put out one
It's been a minute.
years.
Yeah, since 2013.
But yeah, rebooting it as a
Metroidvania.
Yeah, Metroidvania, Castlevania sort of.
Yeah, it works. I'm excited for it. I don't really have much else to say about it. I just thought it looked cool and that the gameplay looked solid. Yeah, Assassin's Creed is back to its roots with Assassin's Creed Mirage. We've got this is probably the most Assassin's Creed we've had in a while. We've spent a lot of time doing things like being Vikings and pirates and gladiators,
Centurions.
and yeah, so just pretty much anything that isn't an assassin. And then they're just like, but what if you also had a hidden blade? And it's like, oh, I guess that makes you an assassin, but not really.
What if you could parkour in military armor?
Yeah. So I think this is a good idea. I do wonder if this is maybe a blip on the map, and this will be.
Yeah.
We're doing this one time, and if this sells fine, we might do these every so often. But they want to get back to their bloated, over the top story. I love that this is back to being a stealth game. They specifically said in the extended gameplay trailer that direct confrontation is supposed to be a last resort for this game.
Yeah. You saw a part where the eagle flew over and got shot at by an archer, and it's just like, oh well, I gotta go take out that archer first.
Yeah, so I can see.
See what's going on.
Which I love that. Way to disrupt your eagle vision. That's interesting.
Yeah, the mechanic of killing people in succession was really interesting.
I love that they're bringing that back. I also, the one thing I don't love is that they have regressed the parkour. And I don't know sense of irony or joking here, 100% serious. Parkour in Assassin's Creed peaked at Assassin's Creed Unity when they created the free flow system. And we have had nothing as good since, because we've barely had places to do parkour in these games because they keep setting them in the middle of.
You want to climb up a tree?
Yeah. You ever been to the desert? What a great place for the parkour people.
Right.
So I was sad that this kind of looks more bland and plain, but also if it means that the rest of the game is more solid, I think that works out. But it is interesting to see them scale it down a lot. I wonder if it's going to pay off.
Yeah, it looks like when they first. Oh, now you can remember in like Assassin's Creed 2, maybe even 3. Unity is where but like you can walk across ropes now.
Yeah,
it's like they reverted all the way back to that, and it's like we cut it off. We cut it off there, and you need a ledge to like get to and things like that.
Yeah,
but look. Nothing gave me more entertainment than up until Assassin's Creed Unity and Brotherhood and all that. Like, nothing gave me more entertainment in my teenage years, and was genuinely like, people were talking about, is this the next like sort of prestige gaming thing after the first one? And it sort of turned into like, how do we replicate this? Like,
we quickly hit franchise mode.
It became a Marvel movie, but like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but yeah, it hit franchise entertainment mode. Is like, how do we replicate this down the line? Going back to how, if they can somehow recapture even 70% of how it felt playing that first one.
Yeah. I think it'll work. I'll be honest with you, I think this is going to be good. I think I'm going to have a good time with it. I think that there's little chance that it will be straight up bad. And I'm very interested to see where this goes. What I'm not interested in is Assassin's Creed Nexus, the VR thing.
Yeah, don't care.
Totally thought that when they said that it was going to be the hub of Assassin's Creed games, that meant something cool, and it doesn't. It just is. It's a VR game. Who cares? Assassin's Creed Jade, I also can't be bothered to care about because
it's a mobile game.
It's a mobile game. Ubisoft. I want to like you so much, so often, but you do a lot of stupid stuff. And one of your most common stupid thing that you do, and I mean this as your friend, okay? I'm your buddy. We're all friends here. We're pals.
Sure.
Stop chasing trends that have long since died. I know that there is a solid market for mobile games, but the trend of taking AAA titles and putting them onto mobile platforms died a few years ago. And has not really found its way back. I don't feel like there's enough fidelity here for me to want to pay or download. I don't care if it's free to play.
It won't be.
I think it is going to be free to play, but I don't care. There's just not enough there, and it's a wasted concept for mobile. You took one of the most interesting locations for your character, China, and stuck it on the mobile platform.
Yeah.
What a waste.
Feels like a slap in the face. They needed to have one in China and Japan for years, and then they're just like, hey, but what about cell phones? And you're like, oh, God, cool.
Yeah, one of them's a mobile game.
The Nexus thing was so weird because, yeah, they were like, you can be an assassin from any of the time periods. And then it's just like...
Specifically 3 of the time periods.
Yeah, specifically 3 of the time periods. But also VR, and I'm like, oh, shit.
I don't care. And also, that guy looks so goofy doing the VR, as you always will.
Like,
yeah.
Anyway,
exactly.
you imagine doing that in your house, your wife walks in, you're just like, and you're like, what is going on?
It's rough.
Smash Bros?
X Defiant is for sure the Smash Bros of first-person shooters. And what I mean by that is that Ubisoft's taken all the franchises, smushed them together into a hero-esque shooter that works. It is actually fairly decent. The gunplay is solid. I've heard really good things. I've heard people say that it's almost as good as Call of Duty, which is crazy because no one has really challenged that.
Encroached on that territory.
So I would be interested to see if they can make this work, especially since I think it's planning to be released as a free-to-play game.
Yeah.
So, which Ubisoft has been trying to get a free-to-play game that people care about off the ground for a while now, and it's just not been working super well. Crew Motorfest, we'll speed through these last few ones because we're running out of time. Crew Motorfest, they did a Forza Horizon, straight up just stole the Horizon Fest.
In Hawaii, folks.
In Hawaii, which, hey, Microsoft, shame on you for not going to Hawaii before them. I can't believe they beat you. But I guess, that team was making Fable. So
do we care about a Tom Clancy?
I don't. I care about Tom Clancy. I don't care about Tom Clancy as a person because he's dead. But I don't care about the Division resurgence at all because, again, it's a mobile game and I can't be bothered. Also, don't put a Tom Clancy logo on my face unless you're bringing me a new Splinter Cell.
Fact, we've been...
Straight up.
I think we've said that for a few episodes now.
Yeah.
Remember Skull and Bones?
Yep.
Nope.
No. It's maybe, but no.
They keep
still, if you thought
updating that platform.
Put a release date on this, you'd be an idiot. And I have a bridge to sell you.
Kill it.
Yeah. End it. 11 years? Too long.
The funniest thing ever, not Skull and Bones, but what's the other cartoonish pirate game?
Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves. I saw a grown man make like 5 kids cry as he soloed them on TikTok. It just was the funniest thing. They were screaming at him. It was the funniest thing that I've ever seen. And the other kid's dad came in. He's like, "Turn it off right now." And he, okay. Anyway, I give this a 5 out of 5 because Star Wars is going to be the best game that anyone has ever played.
Yeah, honestly, a surprisingly solid conference from Ubisoft.
I'm only kind of joking because Assassin's Creed might be a buggy mess, but
but Star Wars is going to be great.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. I mean, we knew that they were making a Star Wars game, and we'd speculated a few times that it was going to be a bounty hunter game. But a Scoundrel game is just as good, and I love that.
One of the next few Star Wars games that's literally spread out across like 18 different studios, by the way. They remember they sent out
3 at EA still, I think. There's 2 at Ubisoft. And I think that's it right now.
Yeah, I thought they made the decision to sort of take it away from EA's hands.
Yeah, EA doesn't have exclusive rights anymore, but they still are the favorite.
Capcom?
Yeah, sure, that happened. Why? That wasn't bad, but it was unnecessary. Dragon's Dogma 2 looks good.
Bad.
It's fine.
No, I mean, the games look fine. Just why did we do this?
Hey, remember how everyone was all like, thank God E3 is dead, because now we don't have to all try to compete for the same time period and show these massive showcases and stress out everyone. And then what did you do? What did you do, video game? You just chose the same goddamn week, and you put all your press conferences there. And you know who that hurts? It hurts me.
Because we have to do an hour-long
Because this show is so long today.
And I have to pee so bad.
And my daughter's birthday was this weekend. How am I supposed to watch a press conference and not have my family get mad? You don't do this to me. Spread it out.
Sorry, Daddy can't come to your birthday party. I'm watching.
Microsoft is showing Fable.
Was your dad, later in therapy, was your dad distant only during the summer, the beginning of the summer?
Only when Richard Ayoda came around.
Yeah.
Don't do that again. Spread it out. Hey, Jeff Keighley, if you're going to take stuff from other people's showcases, don't have your own. I love you, but you got to. This was not it for me this year, and I need you to not separate. If we're going to have 1,000 showcases, don't have them divvy up little details to give to your show. It meant nothing for Spider-Man to be there, and I got no enjoyment out of it.
And we love a Spider-Man.
And I love a Spider-Man. I'm going to take so many pictures of Spider-Man, and I'll have them on your desk by Monday.
Spooderman.
In the meantime, though, you can keep an eye out right here. We've got some big things coming in the month of July with our first official sponsor. More on that next month. We've also got a couple of upcoming segments that'll be on our 4 p.m. On KWTX. You can look for one today if it's Friday, and it will be because that's when this comes out. And when that comes out, two videos in one day. What am I, a crazy person? I can do that. We've got reviews for Diablo 4 coming. You can check out our Tears of the Kingdom review. Christian did a great job with that one. Final Fantasy 16 is gonna hurt me. And then July is going to be a little bit of a slower month. So let's get a break for a minute.
Yeah, I got a review for F1, the F1 racing game from EA.
How's it going?
Not good. The game is good. Look, the game is good.
Solid.
The game is a solid racing game. I don't understand F1 at all. Or the mechanics of how to turn a car that doesn't want to turn.
Driving is hard.
F1 cars don't turn right or left. They don't turn.
They're not meant to do this.
They go straight, and somehow they have figured out how to go around the most windy tracks of all time. And I can't figure it out without hitting another person. Also, F1. I know this would probably kill some people. Bring it. Just bring in a NASCAR. Let me hit somebody. Yeah, rubbing is racing. Let's get it going. Anyway, I'm bad at driving in the game.
Look out for that review.
But
it's going to be good.
It's a good. If you like F1, this is kind of it. But it is good.
And we'll have a full review from Royden about that at some point.
That's going to be the review.
Yeah. Well, it's very similar. We'll have a Weekend Warrior starting back up this weekend, and going forward, that will be every weekend on Saturday. So make sure to subscribe here on Hardwired. Go ahead and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the glorious things that we do on this channel. But until next time, we're going to take a couple weeks off, and we'll be back at the first part of July.
When there are less games.
That's Royden. This is Uplink. Subscribe.